Y'all, let's take our Bibles and go to Genesis 7. Genesis 7. Last time we were together, we started looking at the flood, Noah, the ark, all of those kind of things. That was a great study, and we're going to kind of continue in the book of Genesis tonight. A few things I wanted to kind of point out as we get going here from last time that we were together. We saw that God gave Noah specific instructions on how to build the ark. And we discover later that even from the Navy and different places that the instructions that Noah had, can you imagine going all the way back 6,000 years back in time, the instruction that Noah had on how to build that is the same model that we use today in our ships. It's just really, how many of you know God just knows what he's doing? It's just cool that just, to see that, so cool. But so he gave him instructions on how to build the ark. We saw that God caused all the animals to come to him. Aren't you glad Noah didn't have to go chasing after all them animals, try to gather them up? Anybody ever had a pig get out or a cow to get out or something like that? Boy, that is a mess, isn't it? But God caused and not just caused them, but the ones he wanted, the young and all those kind of things, the one he needed to own the ark. God supernaturally caused, how many of you know if God can supernaturally make it rain and he can supernaturally bring the animals and he can supernaturally give Noah directions on how to build the ark? We saw that God shut the door. How many of you see that God was totally in charge of all this? God shut the door, and there comes a time where opportunity for all of us will be over. Either our life, that door will be closed, or the coming of the Lord, or whatever that may look like. So it's true in the end times as well. How many of you know God is in complete control right now, just like he was in control then? The world looked out of control, didn't it? But God was in control, and the world looks like a mess right now. But let me tell you, things are going just exactly how the Bible said that they would go. So God's in complete control of all this, and he is now. And it's important that we understand that, and it's comforting too. So tonight we're going to look at life after the flood. So that's where we're going to pick it up this evening. And so look in chapter 7, life after the flood. By the way, there are a lot of verses. I thought this was interesting, and you ought to maybe think about doing a study on this. I haven't done this yet, but I'm going to. It's on my things to do list. But there's a lot of verses about our future with God, what it's going to be like in the future, but very few verses on, and one of them goes like this: before the foundation of the world. But I noticed there's at least 8 or 10 verses in the Bible that says it like this: before the foundation of the world. How cool would it do? How little do we know before the foundation of the world? In other words, when the world was created, what was it like before the foundation of the world? So I'm going to do a study because there's at least 8 or 10 good verses on that, and you might want to as well, because we know a lot, we know some about after this world is going to conclude, but not too much about what happened before. So we kind of seen it go like this. We've seen life go from perfection with Adam and Eve to a sinful condition in the world. And then we saw the flood come in, and then it started all over again. One of the things that I learned about starting all over again, sinful people were done away with, but not sin. It didn't take long for sin to show back up. We're going to get to see that tonight. It's sad. How many of you know that even in the millennial, that 1,000 years reign at the end, and when Satan's loosed a little season, it doesn't take long until the whole environment is corrupt. I'm going to tell you, it doesn't take too long. So we see that a lot of times. Don't that ever make you wonder, like, how could people, after living for almost 1,000 years in peace and goodness of God? Well, in the story we're going to look at tonight in Babel, they just got off the ark and started doing the exactly opposite of what God said. I mean, the children of Israel, they escaped from Egypt and didn't get very far, and they're building the golden calf, saying, this is the God who brought us out. So our human nature is not good. Somebody say amen. It's just not good. And we typically go the wrong direction often. So life after the flood. Pick it up in verse 17. This is Genesis chapter 7 and verse 17. The flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased and bare the ark up, and it was lifted above the earth. Imagine that. And the waters prevailed, and they were increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went up on the face of the water. So we're all floating now. And the waters, can you imagine how... I've been on an ocean where it was rough a time or two, and in lakes it was extremely rough. The Bible says that the great deep was opened up, and it rained like all get out, 40 days and 40 nights. You can't imagine. I mean, I can't imagine how How incredibly dangerous that sounds to me in the ark. Worse outside of the ark, but bad inside. No good place to be right here. The waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills were covered. The whole heavens were covered. 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered. There's a lot of people tell you, and they teach you a lot of times that this flood was not worldwide. It was just like in the Middle East where people were living. That's baloney. The Bible makes it very clear. It was, look at this, next verse, all flesh died. Not just one in a certain area, all flesh died that moved upon what's that word? The earth. All flesh died that moved upon, all fowl, all cattle, all beasts, all creeping things that creeps, everything and every man. Look at that, verse 21. Every man died upon the earth. Not some of them in a region or a different area. And by the way, God said through the rainbow, he wasn't going to flood the earth again. But we've had flood in areas, but we're never going to have a worldwide flood. That's what this was, and that's the difference between what the Bible's saying, a lot of other people. Verse 22, and all in whose nostrils was the breath of life, of all that was on dry land, all of them died. Verse 22. Every living substance was destroyed, which upon the face of the ground, both man, cattle, creeping thing, the fowl of the heavens, they were all destroyed from the earth. And Noah only, everybody say only. Noah only remained alive, and those that were with him in the ark. 8 of them altogether. And the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. So we have 40 days of rain, 150 days of the water rising. I believe it was 150 days of it rescinding. We ended up being in the ark about 370 something days. That's a long time. 365 is a year. They were better than a year in the ark. That had to be one smelly place. I'll just tell you right now, that is something. I don't know, what do y'all think? I believe God could have caused some kind of hibernation kind of thing going on with them animals, because if he didn't, there was lots of stalls to clean. How many know what I'm talking about? It would have been, yeah, rough. So, yeah, man. Second thing I want you to see is about why it was a worldwide flood, not just a localized flood. Some of the mammals, sea life creatures, fossils of sea life, all those kind of things are found in some of the highest elevations on the planet. And so you need to ask yourself a question. If there wasn't a worldwide flood, how'd they get up there? And so a lot of other things happened too. We know that they found dinosaurs that have grass in their belly, and they was petrified all at once. How did that happen? Anytime you have the earth opening up, what is in the center of the earth? What cold or hot? Hot. So you have, and then there's ice in certain portions of the earth, right? You have heat and cold mixing together. You have rain, all this incredible stuff going on. And some of that stuff was fossilized just like that. And it's really amazing. By the way, there's not any other way to explain it other than that. And by the way, I've read some of the crazy stuff, and I'm sure y'all have. How did the dinosaurs just all disappear at one time? And somebody come up with an idea I read the other day. A meteor hit and killed them. So that's interesting. But I got a good idea. How about a flood? Did you see every breath, everything that had breath, every mammal, every animal, every man, everything died in the flood? The Bible's crystal clear about that. So the waters prevailed. This is now we're in Genesis chapter 8, and then so God remembered Noah. Anybody glad for that? And every living thing and all the cattle that was with him in the ark, he remembered it. And God caused the wind to pass over the earth, and the waters assuaged. They went down. The fountains also in the deep of the windows of heaven were closed up. The rain from the heavens was restrained. Verse 3, this is Genesis 8, verse 3 now. The waters returned from off the earth continually. That'd take a long time for all of that to take place, don't you imagine? And after the end of 150 days, there it is again. So now we have 150 and 150, that's 300. And we have 40, 340. We have some more days, you're going to see it. Remember, he sent out a raven. And then 7 days later, he sent out a what? A dove. And then 7 days later, he sent out another Dove. That's 7, 14, 21. Keep adding them up. That's all you got to do. Just do the math, and you'll find out how long Noah was in the ark, okay? Isn't it interesting, too, that Noah sent them out every 7 days? And why did he do that? That's pretty interesting. Not 5, not 4, not 6, not 8, 7 days, because God built the whole entire cycle of the universe on this 7-day period that we still operate in now. I find that really, really cool. So many good reasons why you can see that there was a universal flood, not just a localized flood. Also, when you look at rock formations like the Grand Canyon, you can see that the flood took place there. Things happened in a moment that would have taken, maybe could have never happened. And also, when you think about Pangea, now my wife is a school teacher and she teaches on world history. And she says, you know, you talk about anti-Pangea and all that kind of stuff, Pangea. She said, you know, Pangeists, they don't believe that it took place in the flood or quickly. They believe it took place over millions of years. I said, I know. They can be wrong about that if they want to. But here's the thing. When you see the earth breaking apart into 7 continents because of the flood, you know, it's really cool. You need to go look at this. It's really cool. You get a chance. Go look at the mountains in the oceans. That's really cool. I'm talking about not hills, gigantic mountains in the oceans. Ask yourself how they got there. Well, when it all broke apart. And by the way, I'll tell you something else. Have you ever tried to put all the 7 continents back together? It's not a perfect fit, is it? I'll tell you something. Somebody way smarter than I did brought those mountains back out of the ocean, pulled them all together, and guess what? It was a beautiful fit. So go look at some of that. It's really cool to look at. And that's why we believe not in a localized flood, but we believe in a universal flood. So then, let's keep on reading. The waters are abating now. Verse 4, the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. And we'll talk about this some more, but how many of you know that like the river Euphrates, where the Garden of Eden was located, and then you have the Tigris, all those other rivers they talked about was there. Those rivers after the flood changed positions, locations. The earth broke in two. Everything kind of changed. Y'all agree with that? Everything completely changed. Now, they went back and named some of those rivers the same name, but they're not necessarily in the same location. And that's why we can't find the Garden of Eden, okay? That's why we can't find it. So this mountain of Ararat, it's what it's called today. There's a reason, and we talked about this just a little bit the other day. The people look on the mountain of Ararat. What country is that in? Turkey. That's right. And it's way up there. The height's unbelievable. And it snows up there all the time. And so it's really, really hard terrain. But when you get to the Tower of Babel, the Bible says that they came from the east and journeyed down to the land of Shinar, a flat land, okay? They came from everybody say east. They came from the east. Well, does anybody know what is to the east from Babylon? Iran. Where is Mount Ararat from there? From the north, okay? So a lot of Bible scholars believe that one day the ark will be found, but it's not going to be found on what we call Ararat today, which a lot of those chains of mountains connect, as you know. But it'll actually be in Iran. Will it? I don't know. Could it be on the Ararat that we know today? Maybe so. But a lot of that stuff has changed names. As a matter of fact, if you go and look at, just take Istanbul. When you get a chance, look how many times that's changed names over the course of history. And you'll see that's been true with mountains, it's true with rivers, it's true with all kinds of stuff. So we don't know exactly, but here's what we do know. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. God told Noah to pitch the ark from without and pitch it from within. There was no reason to pitch that ark from within. The only reason you pitch a boat from without is to keep it from leaking, and there's no reason at all to pitch it from within unless you want to preserve it. Okay? And I really believe one day the ark's going to be found, and it's going to be standing there for a message to all people living in the end time that God was real then, He's bringing judgment, He's real now, and He will bring judgment. So we see that. So the ark rested on Ararat. Is that the Ararat that we know? That was my only point. It could be, but it may not be, because it does say, when you actually follow the Bible, you see it, and we'll see it in a minute. Verse 5, the waters decreased continuing to the 10th month, and in the 10th month, on the first day of the month, were the tops of the mountains seen. So it came to pass that at the end of 40 days, there's the 40 days, Noah opened up a window of the ark which he had made. He sent forth a raven. What kind of a bird is a raven? A dirty bird, okay? It's not a clean bird. It's what's the word the Bible uses? Unclean. So he's a dirty bird. What does that mean? If he sent forth a raven, it didn't come back. Where do you suppose it went? It'll land on anything, dead body, dead anything. It'll land on anything dead, okay, because it's an unclean bird. He sent forth in a raven. It went forth until the waters were dried up from off the earth. In other words, he didn't come back. Verse 8, he sent forth a dove from him to see if the waters were abated. What kind of bird is a dove? It's a clean bird. It won't land on all that dead stuff, okay? It won't. So the dove, verse 9, he didn't find any rest, no place for its soles of its foot. She returned to the ark, for the waters were on the face of the whole earth. Then he put forth his hand, took her, pulled her into him and to the ark. Verse 10, he stayed yet another 7 days. It doesn't say 7 days in the last one, but he tells you there it was another 7 days. He's going on this period of weeks. And again, he sent forth the dove out of the ark, and the dove came into him in the evening, and lo, there was in his mouth an olive leaf plucked. Noah knew that the waters were abated from off the earth. Can you imagine being in the ark? Now, the ark has hit ground, but as far as you can see, there's water everywhere. You can't see any dry land. And can you imagine they're in the ark 47 more days? They've already been in there a year. And you're thinking, will the water ever dry up? I don't know what they were thinking. You know, will this thing ever work? And anyway, he stayed yet another 7 days and went forth the dove, and it didn't return to him anymore. And it came to pass in the 601st year, in the first month, the first day of the month. And by the way, you may not have your calendar with you that we studied on, but if you have your calendar with you, or you just underline this verse and go home and find out what this day is, you'll be shocked that they started out their new life on a very special day on your calendar, the Jewish calendar. So the land was dry. In the second month of the 7th and 20th day of the month was the earth dry. So God spake to Noah, saying, go forth from the ark, thou and your wife and your sons' wives with you. Bring forth with you every living thing that was with thee, of all flesh, both of fowl, cattle, every creeping thing creepeth on the earth, that they may breed abundantly in the earth and be fruitful and multiply upon the earth. And Noah went forth, and his sons and his wife and his wife's sons' wives with him, and every beast and every creeping thing that went out of the ark. Imagine that. I like the next verse. We talk about some of this, but I really have some stuff that I want to talk about more. But I like the next verse. The first thing that Noah does is he builds an altar to the Lord. That's a good thing. You ever notice when Abraham, you'll see this later on. I'm going to tell you now so you can watch for it. When Abraham leaves out of his country and he goes to the place that God tells him to go, when he gets there, the first thing he does is he builds an altar to the Lord. And when he leaves there and he goes to the next place, God tells him the first thing he does is he builds an altar to the Lord. I just love that. I love that. I love that. Yes?
So does that mean that actually the animals did produce while they was in there?
No. He brought, if you'll go back in your mind for a minute, he brought 2 of every animal.
A male and female.
But of clean fowls, he brought 7 of each kind, so 14. Yeah, so they're sacrificing some of the 14. But no, I couldn't find not one single person who believed that the animals multiplied, not one, and I studied that out. But if you do ever find that out, then let me know, because I couldn't find one scholar who believed. In fact, most of the people said that not only did they not multiply, but they also just more hibernation type of situation. Robert?
Does it say anywhere where they sacrificed the birds?
No, it just says they sacrificed. However, if they would have sacrificed anything else other than the birds, there wouldn't have been anything to mate with unless they did produce that for that year. So, but here's the thing I want you to understand. Did anybody remember how many animals was on the ark? I forgot to bring my 16,000. That's okay, Michelle. If they multiply, everybody just has 1. How many do we have? We're out of room. If in a year they have 2, how many do we have? That's problematic. How many of you see that's problematic? You can't do that because there wouldn't be room on the ark for that to take place. So that's, in fact, they may have not even had them where they could multiply. They may have it.
Boys department, girls department.
There you go, boys and girls department. Debbie? Yeah. Yeah. That's an excellent point, Debbie. I actually heard that too. One guy that I was listening to, he said that God brought intentionally the smaller animals who weren't ready to multiply, but also would live long lives and reproduce and reproduce and reproduce. Much. Even dinosaurs. He believed there was dinosaurs on the ark, but they were small ones. And so, but yeah, exactly right. So that's an excellent point. I did read that, and I thank you for bringing that up. Anybody else want to comment on this? It's pretty bizarre, isn't it, that you have all that going on.
In my Bible, it says they came out of the ark by their wings.
Talking about the animals or the, yeah. I think he's talking about, and I don't know, but like, and I'll go back and look at that a little closer, but there wasn't every, I want you to notice this too, there wasn't every type of bird. There were birds that could create every type of birds. There were not every type of every animal. How many of you know there's different types of horses? And that genetically they're like you. How many of you know in us there's a lot of genes that will never be used? But if we, for example, if all the blondes stuck together and all the brunettes stuck together, and you got my point, all the blue eyes stuck together and all the green eyes, all of that stuff's in all of us. But if we all stuck together with what we are, what we would produce is what we are. You see that? Okay. So what there wasn't every kind of horse, but there was horses with every kind of horse in them. Does that make sense? Because inside of you, there is blonde, there's dominant and recessive traits inside of you. All of your gene pool has amazing ability to produce different things. You know what I'm talking about. Have you ever seen two blonde-headed people have all red-headed kids or all black-headed kids? Or you have two cold black-headed kids that had the blondest kid you ever seen in your life. And you go, No, inside of you, there's all of that, okay? And it's either dominant or recessive, depending. So there was families of birds, but they weren't every kind of bird. But inside of them, there was the potential for every kind of bird. You find something else? There was a horses, but not every kind of horse. But in those horses, there were every kind of horse. You see what I'm saying? So that's why only 16,000. If you started breaking it down in the species, then there would be, I don't know how many. And so, but what's really cool is within us, there is a lot of information in our DNA. There's lots and lots of information. I've read how much information's in there. It's unbelievable. And there's in you. And so all that information can work itself out in various different ways. These are good comments. Anybody else want to comment on this? Pretty incredible stuff. Now, does that mean nobody produced in the ark? I have no idea. I wasn't there, but I'm just saying most people who think about all the mechanics of it don't believe that was a possibility. Okay, let's keep on going. He built an ark to the Lord. The Lord smelled that sweet smell and savor, and he said, you know what? Verse 22, this powerful verse, while earth remains. By the way, everybody, you got your pen? This is a verse you need to know and live by and hang on to and don't lose faith. As long as the earth remains, spring, summer, winter, fall is going to keep on coming. Cold, heat, winter, summer, day's going to keep on coming, night's going to keep on coming. I don't care what the government tells you about global warming. As long as the earth remains, it's going to get cold in the winter, it's going to get hot in the summer, and spring and falls come. Go ahead and plant your crops. You're going to be okay. Okay? Because by the way, if that ever stops, you'll know the Bible's not true. But I can make you a promise right now. As long as the earth endures, all of that's going to continue, okay? So God blessed Noah and his sons, chapter 9. It said, be fruitful, multiply, and replenish the earth. And the fear of you will be, and the dread of you be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every fowl of the air, and upon all that moveth upon the earth, and upon all the fish of the sea, and into your hands they are delivered. Every moving thing that liveth. Okay, verse 3. I want you to notice this one. Let's stop here for just a second. They have a total, complete change in their diet here. And a lot of people ask, well, when did that happen? What did God tell them they could have to eat in the garden?
Anything that grew.
All the trees and all the vegetables and everything in the garden. What kind of meat could they eat? They didn't eat any meat. There wasn't killing of anything in the garden, okay? They came out of the garden. That hadn't changed. There was a sacrifice, but that hadn't changed. Now right here we see this incredible change. I get a hold of this. This is gigantic. Not till the law, I guess, until this changes. In the law, God gave them specific instructions on what not to eat, because eventually all that stuff's not going to be good for you. But here he says in verse 3, every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you. How much? Every. Yeah. Thus far, I've tried most of it. And some of it's good and some of it's not. In some of these other countries, we've ate some stuff I'm not sure you're supposed to eat. Like an octopus in one country we ate. It was terrible, like eating a rubber tire or something. Robert?
So can we deduct that there were carnivore eating dinosaurs on the ark?
No, I wouldn't think so, because it's not till after the ark. And, well, you know what, Robert? Sin produced, I don't really know. Let me think about that a little while. But I wouldn't think so. But yeah, there had to be. There had to be. You hit me in a bad spot. There had to be, because those animals lived and they probably died during the flood. So there had to be. There had to be. Yeah, you're right. There had to be. So after sin, God killed animals for the first time. And we don't really know what happened with that. But as far as the people of God, their diet was still what it was. It wasn't until this day, until God changed their diet. But you're right. Sin produced a lot of havoc. That's interesting. Never thought about that before. Thank you for putting something new in my mind. I saw another hand. Yes.
Could it be possibly that they were herbivores on the ark, and then when they got off, that's when they evolved?
Could have been. You're right. Could have been the same with man as it was with the animals. Because have anybody ever gone to see the ark? Where is it located at now? Tennessee? The one in America. You ever been down there? Tennessee? Okay. If you hadn't gone, at least get online and look at it. It's amazing. They've built a replica, same size, and as the ark, and they can show you where dinosaurs and everything would fit on there if they were pick the small ones and so on and so forth. So that's a great comment. It's an excellent point. Yeah. Anybody else want to comment? If you hadn't seen it, go online. It's a worthwhile situation to go see. But anyway, going back to verse 3, at this point in time, he said, I've given you everything that is out there for meat. And even as the green herb, I have given you you can eat all things. But, verse 4, but flesh with the life in it, which is the blood thereof, you shall not eat. So he doesn't want you to eat at this point in time. He doesn't want you to eat living creatures. My only interpretation of that is cook them and eat them, okay? So, yeah, cook them and eat them, okay? Surely your blood of your lives will I require at your hand. Now, I know everybody's like, what about medium rare and all that kind of stuff? I don't think that is all what he's talking about, but you do a study on that. It's a worthwhile study. I was going to, but I didn't have time, so I didn't get it done. So, but listen, why is that? Because it's the precious blood that saves us from our sins. It was the shedding of blood that got us in this mess. And God says life's in the blood, so don't eat the blood thereof. And he's actually, if you'll look back at verse 4 and 5, he's actually talking about living creatures, I do believe. Anybody have another translation that makes that more clear? While you're looking there? I'll keep going if you find it cool. Whoever sheds man's blood, another thing, verse 6, here's another thing I want you to see. So much in Genesis, we get an eye for an eye and a tooth for tooth right here before the law. Whoever sheds a man's blood, what's going to happen to him? He'll be killed, okay? So we start seeing the law come into play even before the law of Moses. God is laying down the commandments for Noah and his family, okay? So you be fruitful and multiply and go forth abundantly in the earth and multiply therein, okay? So and here's the covenant that God made with Noah. He said, and to his sons, he said, behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your seed forever. That's us too. And with every living creature that is with you, of the fowl, the cattle, everything. He says, verse 11, I establish my covenant with you, neither shall all flesh be cut off anymore by the waters of the flood. Neither shall there be any more flood to destroy the earth. So God says there's never going to be another universal flood that destroys everything. And God says, this is the token of the covenant that I made to you. What's the token of the wedding covenant? The ring. The ring, okay? So the token that I make to you, that this will be true forever. You never have to worry about a universal flood anymore. This is the token. What was the token? The rainbow. That's exactly right. So God put the bow in the cloud. When you see it, what do you think of? The covenant that God's made with us. He's never going to flood the earth again. So anyway, so he said, I put my bow in the cloud as an everlasting covenant between you as a reminder of all flesh and not going to be destroyed again. So this is the token, verse 16 and 17. So the sons of Noah that went forth from the ark, 3 of them, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Ham is the father of Canaan. These are the 3 sons of Noah, and with them the whole earth was overspread. In other words, with them, everybody came from those 4. Isn't that amazing? Everybody in this room came from those 4. Now, you may have some questions. How is that possible? I hope to answer those questions tonight as we go forth. How could the Chinese and the Africans and the Americans and the Europeans and all those kind of things, how could all of those come? We're going to get into that tonight a little bit, and it's going to be fun. We've done it before, but we're going to hit it a little again tonight because it's just so fun. All right. Before we do, though, we need to get this crazy verse out of the way real quickly. We're going to get into some deeper stuff. But Noah, he loved to plant things, and he grow things, and he planted a vineyard, and he got drunk. And while he was drunk, he was uncovered. And Ham, everybody say Ham, and eggs. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his nakedness. Anybody have another translation? What does yours say? Okay, good, same thing. And he went out and he told his 2 brothers without. And Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it backwards on their shoulders and went backwards and covered his nakedness of their father. And their faces were backwards and they didn't see their father's nakedness. And Noah woke from his wine and he knew what his younger son had done to him. I have a question for you. How did he know? What is it? When you're drunk, I don't think you remember whether you was covered or not covered. When you're drunk, I don't think you remember which direction. Anybody, don't lift your hand. Anybody ever been drunk? Did you remember everything? How many of you didn't remember anything? Okay. I don't think he remembered whether he even had covers on or not. How did he know? He learned. That's interesting. What you got? Anybody else? He learned. Okay, I just wanted to make this crazy point here and get this verse out of the way. There has been libraries written on what happened here. I mean, it is crazy. So there's just going to give you 3 quickies. I don't have an opinion of it, but I just want you to know everything about what's out there, okay? So that you can do whatever you want to with it. He saw his nakedness. Now, first of all, I just want to say that I've seen a naked person before, and it wasn't a big deal like this. You know what I'm saying? Y'all ever seen a naked person? It wasn't this big deal. So I think there has to be something more being said here. Because, it just wasn't that big of a deal. It might be a little embarrassing for him and his father, both, but it's not that big of a deal. I don't know. If you keep reading, though, it looks like he woke up and he knew. How did he know? And that's a big question. So, and I don't care because, but there is a lot happening in this. Because of this, a lot happened. Verse 24, if he just saw him naked and nothing else was done, why would he have put a curse on him? And it's interesting. I don't know if you noticed this or not, but you were told in a couple of verses ago that Ham was the father of who? Canaan. I want you to notice he didn't place the curse on Ham. Who did he place the curse on? Canaan. How is that fair? The Bible says in multiple places that if the father sins, the son's not responsible for the father, and if the son sins, the father's not responsible for the son. As he says, as I live, saith the Lord, whoever sins, he's responsible. So why would he place the curse on Canaan? Well, there's a lot of commentary about there. Like I said, library books have been written. Y'all want to hear any of it? Okay, so let's take 2 or 3. We'll take the top 3 and then just deal with them. I don't have an opinion. I don't even know what to do with this verse, but there's a lot happen as a result of this particular verse, though. The first one was he saw his nakedness and he told. I don't know how that could be the big deal, but that's the first one. The second is that he had an affair with his wife, which would be his mother, and she bare Canaan and that's why he was cursed. It's a fairly common ideology. I don't believe it, but I just want you to know it's out there. And okay, so the second one was he went in, he saw his father's nakedness. He had a sexual relationship with either his wife or his mother or his another wife that he had by that point in time, and they bear a son, and his son was Canaan, and that's why he was cursed. But that doesn't follow the text of the scripture, which says that he was the son of Ham. But anyway, that's a whole lot of commentary out there. There's the third one, and you all have read this one, I'm sure yourself many times. He had a sexual relationship with his father. How many of you read that one before? Yeah. So there's that one is out there. I just want you to be aware. I don't know what to believe about this, but I do know this is weird stuff. But here's what I wanted to say about that. A lot of sinners died in the flood, but sin didn't. Right? So, yeah. So we don't know exactly what happened. Only one thing we can conclude is that there's plenty of sin to go around. So there's a lot of speculation and a lot of, conjecture. So I don't know what to tell you. But you do whatever you want to with that. But as we go on, I think you're going to see some other interesting things about all this as we go forward. Any comments on this? Anybody ever learn anything on this you'd like to share? Okay.
Quick. Okay, I can't say it, that
Japheth,
Is that the son of Shem?
It's the son of Noah. He had 3 sons,
Okay.
Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Click it.
Okay, that's okay. Anybody ever studied anything that you're like, man, I found something on this and I thought it was really cool? Okay.
I haven't done a study on it, but I do think he got drunk. So there's already the starting to a bad thing.
Yeah,
And then now he's going to curse someone else. The whole thing just seems like one messed up situation.
it does indeed. Anybody else?
Sounds like my family.
Okay, so where's Judy when you need her, right? So look at that, verse 25. He said, cursed be Canaan. Another thing I read, I wanted you to know this. When they got off the ark, what did the first thing God do was? He blessed them. He blessed Noah and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And a lot of commentators said that he couldn't curse what God had already blessed. So instead of cursing him, he cursed his son. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know what to make of all this. I'm going to be honest with you. I just don't know what. But I do want you to know there's plenty of information out there. The Bible doesn't seem to indicate that when they backed up and put that blanket on him, it seems to indicate that there is something about seeing their father's nakedness that is more than them having some kind of sexual thing. But I don't know what that would be. But times were different back then, so who knows? I don't know. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I know it's hard to believe you would curse a whole generation of people. And by the way, when he blesses Japheth and he said he'll expand his borders and Canaan will serve him, that's exactly what happened. They expanded across. By the way, if you follow, there's 70 nations come out of these boys. That's interesting to follow, but difficult to track with all that. But there is 70 nations. Isn't that an interesting number, 7? Isn't it interesting that there's 70 nations come out of this? Okay, so look down to chapter 10. We're going to get into something I'm really interested in just a minute. But before we do, I want to cover all of it as best we can. So look down to chapter 10. These are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and unto them were the first sons born after the flood. And unto them were sons born after the flood, okay? So what you're going to see is, if you follow this, you'll see the sons of Japheth there in verse 2, and he'll go on, the sons of Ham in verse 6, and the sons of Shem in verse 21. And if you follow that all out, you will get to see how those 70 nations derived and how their children, how they expanded their families, and how the nations of the world began to come forth. But we're just going to follow one. And which one are we going to follow? Which one do we think we're going to follow? Shem. Why? Why are we going to follow Shem? He's the line of Jesus. Okay, so we're going from Adam and Eve all the way to Christ. Okay, so if you look at chapter 11, don't start with the Tower of Babel first. Skip down to the descendants of Shem, which is in verse 10. Okay, so if you go back to chapter 10, though, and you can see the sons of Shem. So, but if you go over to chapter 11, all it does is expand it a few more generations. So instead of reading it twice, look at chapter 11 and verse 10. This is the generation we're going to follow with Shem, okay? By the way, how many generations was there from Adam to Noah? Anybody remember? 10, that's exactly right. Good, Brandy. All right, anybody want to quote them real quickly? Okay, we'll just keep going then. All right, so we have, after that, we have the sons of Adam, okay? And we're going to see how many generations there are from Noah to Abraham. Why? Because Abraham starts the nation of Israel. So let's go. Let's check it out. Verse 10. These are the generations of Shem. I got them underlined. If you want to follow it, verse 10. Shem begot Arphaxad. Okay, verse 12. Arphaxad begot Selah. Verse 14. Selah begot Eber. Keep underlining them. Verse 16. Eber begot, you got to love this one, Peleg. Peleg. Verse 18 begot Reu. Verse 20, Reu begot Serug. Man, wouldn't it be easier to have like David, Sam? Verse 22, Serug begot Nahor. We're getting closer, aren't we? We know that name. Verse 24, Nahor begot Terah. That sounds real familiar. And verse 26, Terah begot Abraham. How many generations? 10. That's exactly right. So far we have from Adam to Noah is 10 generations. Beginning with Noah's son, from Shem to Abraham, we have 10 generations. As we keep going, and I've showed you this in the past before, we can count all the generations right on down to Christ. And we follow this generation. And by the way, did you notice that when you got Judah, you have these small tribes, just not a whole bunch. Then you have the 10 tribes. So you have 2 tribes and you have the 10 tribes. What happens to the 10 tribe? They intermarried with all these other nations and they got lost. They got lost in the shuffle, but not this tribe. So we're going to follow this tribe. It's important because it'll lead us all the way to Jesus Christ, okay? So we see that these are those generations. And by the way, one of the reasons this is so important is because Abraham, it's really interesting. Abraham was an idol-worshiping Gentile. God called him out of his land into a new land, made him a promise, I'm going to give you all this land, and made him the first Jew. And he started the nation of Israel, okay? And so it's an amazing story, and we're going to get into it. But before we do, we are going to have a lot of fun. We're going to talk about the Tower of Babel, chapter 11, verse 1, the Tower of Babel. And these people says, hey, let's go down and build this great city and this great tower. There's something great about a great city. How many of you like going to the city? I think Foghat wrote a song about that. Anybody remember that? Good. I'm glad you guys don't know that group. So, Rocky, you know them, don't you? Me and Rocky, we know them. So, anyway, there's something great about a city. I love a big city, but there's something great. And there's something bad about a city, too. How many of you know it tends to have more evil in a city? So, let's make a city and a tall tower. There's been a lot of great cities in the world. I wrote down a few of them. Cincinnati, Ohio was established in 1788. Does anybody remember what it was called? The Queen of the West, Cincinnati, Ohio. Man, that's a long time ago, 1788. New York City, does anybody remember what New York City's former name was? New Amsterdam. Good, teacher. As a teacher among us here tonight. It was founded in 1625 and then by the Dutch, and then later on in 1664 it was captured by the British and they changed it to New York. Because, anybody know why? After the Duke of York, okay? By the way, have you ever been to Boston? Anybody ever go down the Charles River? Who do you think that was named after?
Prince Charles.
That's exactly right. A long time ago, Prince Charles, not a present one, a long time ago. But absolutely right. As a matter of fact, a lot of the stuff in America was named after people in other nations who were coming here. Okay, so 1625 it was established, New York City, but under another name. London is about 2,000 years old. That's pretty good. That's a long time ago. And all the way back to the time of Christ. Can you believe London was established somewhere during the time, about the same time that Christ was showing up? That is amazing, isn't it? Wow, Europe is in that zone, though. I bet it didn't look like it does now. How about Rome? Rome was established in 753 BC.
Yeah.
You know it was because remember who was in charge when Christ was born? Rome. That's right. So they've been around a long time. Anybody been to Rome? We have. You have? Or you're about to go. Anybody else been to Rome? See the Colosseum and all the old stuff, the Vatican and all those kind of things. And so, yep, 753 BC. That's old, y'all. Jerusalem, though, is somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 years old. Jerusalem. Isn't that amazing? It's between 3,000 and 4,000 years old. It was made the Jewish capital city in 1000 BC. So it's real old. We see that. And but one of the oldest cities you can read about, not the oldest, but one of the oldest cities that you can read about is a place called Babel. It was built right after the flood. By the way, y'all, it is the oldest city built that was not washed away. Okay? Did you know there is an older city, though? Did anybody know this? I bet you've read these verses a million times and you didn't see it. Look back to Genesis chapter 4, and I want to show you at least the oldest city that we have recorded in the Bible. Genesis chapter 4, and look at verses 16 and 17. You probably read this 1,000 times. Maybe you didn't just really capture it because you weren't really looking for it. Cain, verse 16, went out from the presence of the Lord. By the way, we know who this is, Adam and Eve. Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod, and on the east side of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch, not the one that was talked about in the Bible that walked with God, a different one. And he builded a, what is that? A city. And he called the name of the city after his son, what? That's exactly right. The oldest city recorded in the Bible right there in the 4th chapter of Genesis. How many of you have read that and never seen that before? Let me see you, just be honest. I read that and never seen that before. I was like, that is really crazy. Okay, back to Genesis chapter 11. The whole earth, verse 1, was of one language and one speech. Everybody spoke the same language. By the way, we don't have to go back there and turn there because you're probably going to remember it, but what did God command them to do after they got off the boat? Multiply, spread out, fill the earth, refill the earth. So, are they doing that? No, absolutely not. They said, let's build this big city and let's stick together, man, so nothing bad happens to us. It's interesting now, they say, let us build a tower that reaches unto heaven. Do you really think they thought they could build a tower that reaches unto heaven? Or they just say, let's build a big tower?
No, they thought they could.
You think they thought they could build a tower that reached to heaven? What I find interesting about it is they were trying to get up to God and then God comes down to them. It's not good, is it? So let's look at verse 2. It came to pass as they journeyed from the, everybody underline that word right there, from the what direction?
Eastward.
They got off of the boat and they're now journeying. They are journeying which direction? Eastward. And I want you to underline this next word because it is so powerful. We're going to see what happens in a minute. We're going to have a lot of fun doing it. They come into this plain called what? Shinar. Shinar. Everybody say Shinar. We're going to learn a lot about this tonight, and it has to do with our time, by the way. So underline that word. They said to one another, go and let us build bricks and burn them thoroughly, that they had bricks for stone and slime and mortar. So they went and they started building a tower who may reach to the tops of the heaven. Let us make a name, lest we be scattered abroad from the face of the whole earth. The Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of Israel builded. By the way, where's this located today? In Babylon. It's the same Babylon. The Tower of Babel is located. As a matter of fact, you can go see it now. As a matter of fact, you remember the temple that Belshazzar, was it Belshazzar? Belshazzar, His father, Belteshazzar, had gone and taken all the golden things from the temple, brought them down, put them in the museum. You remember he put them in the museum, and his son went over and took all those things out, and they drank wine and stuff from them. You can go see that museum today because they've reconstructed it on the very same foundation. So it's pretty cool. You can go and see. The very temple that held 1,000 people, the party they were having when the handwriting was on the wall, guess what? You can go see that. Remember the Tower of Babel that was built? You can go see where it was built. They took the bricks down later on and they built their houses with it, but it's in this very same, and what country is that in? Iraq. Who said that? Okay. So we see that you can go over there and you can visit that. If you've got the nerve to go over there in the Middle East, you can do that. And the Lord said, behold, all the people is as one. They have one language. They're all as one. And they begin to do this and nothing will be restrained from them. If you go and read a lot of commentary on this, you're going to find out they weren't doing any of this for the Lord. They were doing this like this tower and temple was going to be a place of offering false worship to false gods and all kind of things. In fact, as we go along, you'll see this. I'm not going to try to convince you of it yet. We'll just keep going. And so, and I'll show you later on. God said, let's go down, confound their languages, and that they may not understand their speech, and the Lord scattered them abroad from thence over the face of the entire earth. I've thought about this 1,000 times. I was just, Robert and me were working together, and Brandy, and I was like, Robert, hand me some bricks. Brandy, give me some mortar. Robert, hand me some bricks. Hand me some mortar. And I said, Robert, hand me some bricks. And he's like, no speaky Chinese or something. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, you're like, hand me some bricks. And he just doesn't understand what I'm saying. Give me some mortar. And you absolutely do not understand the language anymore. Now, that is so bizarre. Yeah. That is so bizarre. God went down and confounded their languages, which leaves us with a whole lot of questions. So I want to try my best to answer a few of those. But all this rebellion started off in what we kind of today call Satan's city. And why do we call that? By the way, what is God's city? Jerusalem. That's exactly right. And when you get to Revelations, Satan's city, what is it? Babylon. It's the chief city of wickedness. It's the one destroyed in an hour. Okay? Y'all remember that from Revelation 17? So it's the great, remember the mystery harlot, the woman who rode the beast in Revelations, mystery Babylon. So we're going to see, are we talking about something from the past or something about the future? We're going to get there. It's going to be so much fun. Get your pens and write tonight because it's going to be a lot of fun and you're going to learn a lot. So we see this first rebellion against God actually starts in the land of Shinar at a tower called Babel, okay? God had told them to go and replenish the earth. They didn't. They all came together and started building this. So he went down and changed their languages. Amazing. When you move from Babel now to Babylon, you have, remember Babylon in the Old Testament, King Nebuchadnezzar? What did he do? He went down to Israel and he attacked them. He stole all their goodies. He took Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego back to Babylon. Everybody remember the story? So we have this Babylon going on. A lot of things happen there. Remember, he built an idol to himself to worship a big image. And he said, everybody fall down and worship the image. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego said, we ain't going to do it. We ain't going to fall down and worship the image. What happens in Babylon in the Revelation? What happened? What does the Antichrist do? He builds an image to himself and he causes the image to speak and he makes everybody to worship. We're talking about the same location, same name, same city, same address, same everything, okay? So the first great rebellion that started here at the Tower of Babel and a place we now know as Babylon. As we move forward in the Bible, we see a guy named Nebuchadnezzar comes along and he is the worshiper of all kinds of false gods. And this Babylon, hey, by the way, the Babylon is called in Jeremiah and Isaiah, it is called the epic center of the world. I mean, by the way, if you follow your history, which you should, Alexander the Great, when he conquered the whole entire world, he made Babylon his chief city. And he died there. You go look it up. It's a lot of fun. So he reigned out of Babylon. And he died in Babylon. In fact, he died in the same place that King Nebuchadnezzar lived in. It's really amazing. It's staggering when you think about it. So as we move on, though, when we think about Babylon, King Nebuchadnezzar got up one day and he said, look at this great place that I built. And me, I. And then he went out to eat grass. Okay, if you look in Revelations chapter 17, you'll see a couple of things here. She is actually Babylon. We're going to go look at it in a minute, but you want to, you can check it out. But we're going to go look at it in a minute. She's called the mother of all harlots. Now, what would be interpretation, the mother of all harlots? She's saying that the origin of all evil was established in her. Come on, somebody, are you getting what I'm saying? The origin of evil started at Babel. The origin, the birth of all of this mess started in Satan's city. It will be destroyed in 1 hour in Revelations. How many of you remember that? But anyway, she's called the mother of harlots. And then it says this is staggering. It says she is drunk on the blood of the saints. What does that mean? That means not only is there a city in a proximity, but there's also a religious system that is working within this time of Revelation, because whoever this is and what this is actually doing their best to destroy all of God's people. So that's something else to look forward to into the future. And as we look, not look forward to, but understand that it's coming, okay? So we need to ask ourselves a few questions, and here are the questions. You want to jot them down or whatever, you're welcome to, and then we're going to look at it. We're going to see the answers tonight. It's going to be so good. Let's ask ourselves a few questions. What city is Revelation speaking of? Is it one in a long time ago or one in the future? What do y'all think? One from the past or one in the future? Revelations, is it speaking of one in the past or one in the future? Because Babylon existed in the past, didn't it? Will it exist in the future? That's a question. Let's keep that in mind. And what religious system are we speaking of? A system of the past, like King Nebuchadnezzar killing Christians, like Nero or others killing Christians, or one in the future? And you're going to get to see which one is true tonight as we read the verses of Scripture. You're going to get to see those, okay? So let's start with a city. In Genesis chapter 11, it says the whole earth was under one language and one speech, and it came to pass that they journeyed to a land called Shinar. So several points here. First of all, I want you to see, let's turn to Isaiah. Please go there with me this time, because it's going to be worth your while to check this out if you can. If you have your phone, just follow with your Bible app and go look. Isaiah chapter 13. And I want you to see this. This is a story about Babylon and a prophecy in the book of Isaiah. And let's look at verse 19. And everybody there, I'm going to give you a chance because I want you to see it with your own eyes. And Babylon, this is chapter 13, verse 19. Babylon, the glory of the kingdoms and the beauty of the Chaldeans, excellency. So we're talking about the one that existed a long time ago, shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. Let's stop right there. He said, Babylon, in all of its glory and its excellency, shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. You ought to underline all of that. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from that generation forward. Some people will tell you that Babylon was destroyed by the Persian king Cyrus, but it wasn't. As a matter of fact, there wasn't even a war. Remember what I taught you, what happened with Cyrus? Cyrus, he found a way to divert the river going into Babylon. He diverted the river, and they actually went under the moat, the gates, and they opened the doors. And what was the king Belshazzar doing right at the time? They were getting drunk, having this big party. They literally came into the city, opened the gates, took over the city, and for even days, no one knew that they had taken over the city. And later on, Cyrus, in his own documents, laughed that he was able to capture this great city, which was untakeable, without even firing the first shot. He literally took over the city by diverting the water. So did Babylon fall in 539 or wherever that was? Did it fall? No. Has it been inhabited since then? Yes. So we're not talking about that Babylon, are we? Because he said it will fall like Sodom and Gomorrah. By the way, where is Sodom and Gomorrah? We don't know. Why? Because when it was destroyed, it was destroyed. He goes on to say that no shepherds are going to make their way there, verse 20. Only wild beasts will live there, in verse 21 and 22. And it's not going to be lived in anymore. So he makes several points. It will be like Sodom and Gomorrah. How many of you would agree with me? Babylon never fell. It just absolutely never fell. Now, the truth is it decayed. It started falling apart. By the way, are there people living in Babylon now? Yes. Is it being rebuilt now? Yes. Absolutely. So Saddam Hussein started rebuilding all kind of buildings and reestablishing all kind of buildings, and he was going to recreate Babylon in its greatness. But there are people living there. I told you, you can go visit the museums there now. You can see where the Tower of Babel used to stand. So if this says that it will be like Sodom and Gomorrah, no one will ever live there again. How many of you would agree with me? We're not talking about the Cyrus incident, and we're not talking about the Tower of Babel. So what are we talking about? We must be talking about the Revelation Babylon, okay? Because thus far, those prophecies would not be true. Go to Jeremiah chapter 50 with me real quick, and I want you to see this again. Why is this important? We're going to see in just a minute. It's Jeremiah chapter 50. By the way, it's really crazy. When Daniel, and this is a crazy story, when Daniel was in Babylon and Cyrus, the Persians, took over Babylon, defeated them, and came into the city, Daniel greeted Cyrus with Isaiah 44 and 45. Does anybody know what Isaiah 44 and chapter 45 says? It says something like this: there will be a man named Cyrus who will drain the water, come into the city and overtake the city. And it tells his name. Anybody know when Isaiah was written? 150 years before Cyrus took over Babylon. Daniel goes out and he gives him this scroll from Isaiah and says, look, and then you know what God says in Isaiah? We'll go there and look at it in a minute. He says, because I am the Lord God, I know your name, Cyrus. He lets him read it, and guess what Cyrus does? Anybody remember Nehemiah and Ezra? Guess what Cyrus does? He not only lets them go back to their land, but he helps them finance the rebuilding of the temple. Why? He was so impressed with what Daniel what Daniel showed him, that Isaiah wrote before he was born. And he said, I know your name. It just happened to be his name was Cyrus, and it just happened to be in the Bible like that. How cool is that? How many of you think God knows some stuff? Okay, Jeremiah 50. I want to show you this now, because the reason I want to show you this, because we're talking about not the Babylon of old, but the Babylon potentially of our time or in the future. Look at verse 35, Jeremiah 50 and verse 35. I love it when the Bible starts coming together. A sword is upon the Chaldeans, saith the Lord, and that's the people of Babylon. By the way, if you follow where that Canaan and all those come from, it's interesting. If you follow that, saith the Lord, and upon the inhabitants of, what was that name? Babylon. A sword will come upon the Chaldeans and upon the inhabitants of Babylon. That's the people who live there, the Chaldeans, and that's the city, Babylon. And upon their princesses and upon the wise men. A sword is upon the liars, and those who dote with the sword is upon their mighty men, and they shall be dismayed. A sword is upon their horses and upon their chariots and upon their and all that mingled people that are in the midst of her, and they shall become as a woman. A sword is upon their treasures, and they shall be as robbed. A drought is upon their waters. Let me skip down. Wild beasts of the desert will live there. Verse 39. God will overthrow them. Verse 40, like Sodom and Gomorrah. Isn't that amazing that two prophets said that Babylon will be destroyed like Sodom and Gomorrah? By the way, does anybody know where Sodom and Gomorrah is believed to be? In the bottom of the Dead Sea. Yep. Anybody ever watched TV? The submarines going down to the Dead Sea, in the bottom of the Dead Sea, and looking for, they saw with the space shuttle or some places, they went over it, what looked like a city down there. And so they've taken submarines. I don't think they've discovered what they wanted to discover yet. The pressure is unbelievable and the depth is unbelievable. And so they're having some difficulties. But anyway, it's believed to be in the bottom of the Dead Sea. What an appropriate place, by the way. Right? What an appropriate place for Sodom and Gomorrah to be in the Dead Sea. Verse 40, God will overthrow Babylon like Sodom and Gomorrah, and the neighbors of the cities thereof, saith the Lord, so that no man will ever abide there again. None of the Son of Men will ever dwell there again. Behold, a people shall come from the north, and a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up, and from the coast of the earth. And by the way, I'm not going to rule all this, but if this is not talking about Cyrus, and it's not talking about that fall of Babylon, if it's not talking about the Tower of Babel, and you know it's not, then you got to know it's talking about the Babylon of Revelation. So let's go there real quickly. Revelations chapter 17 and 18. Look there with me. I wish we had plenty of time to read all of it, but we'll look at just a little bit of it. Revelations chapter 17 and 18. Let's look there. We're talking about, I believe, we're talking about the Babylon that's predicted, or doomed that's predicted. That leaves us with a lot of questions. Will Babylon be rebuilt right where it was?
Well, you said another blessing would.
I believe it will. But other people have said, it's America, it's other places. We're not at all talking about, he said the land of the Chaldeans. He said the land of Shinar. You're going to see this. It's going to be great. Okay, let's look at Revelation 17. There came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials and talked to me and said, come hither, let me show you the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon the many waters, and whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication with. And she's decked out in purple. Skip down to verse 5. Upon her forehead was written a name, Mystery Babylon, the great mother of harlots, the abomination of the earth. If you keep reading, you're going to find out it's destroyed in an hour. If you look at chapter 18, you'll see that Babylon talks a lot about it in these two chapters. After these things, chapter 18, verse 1, I saw another angel come down from heaven with great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory, and he cried with a mighty strong voice, saying, Babylon, the great is fallen, and watch this, it has become the habitation of devils and of every foul spirit and caged and unclean. I don't really think he's talking about animals here. I think he's talking about spirits. By the way, if you go back to Isaiah, he calls them owls and one other thing. Oh, unclean, foul. I don't believe he's talking about animals. I think he's talking about spirits. Okay? The Babylon that's going to be destroyed that Jeremiah and Isaiah prophesied is this one. And when it is, first of all, it has to be rebuilt. It's going to become a great place. And when it is, it'll eventually be destroyed in 1 hour. Any questions or comment about that?
Well, I thought, what's that one that they're rebuilding now on the same place it was?
It is Babylon.
Yeah, didn't you say in another lesson that they was already rebuilt?
Much of it's been rebuilt. Nebuchadnezzar wanted to make himself the king of it. But yeah, go look online, you'll see it. Okay, one more scripture, Zechariah 5 and 5. Anybody else want to comment while we're turning there? Zechariah 5 and 5, I'm about to blow your mind right here. Go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to say I saw a documentary on YouTube, there's a lot of stuff for free.
Sure.
But how Saddam had spent billions of dollars trying to rebuild Babylon. When we came in and invaded Iraq, we bombed the heck out of it.
We bombed some of it, but
that's what I was wondering, how much was destroyed.
we didn't destroy the library and some of the main things there, is from what I was understood. Some of our soldiers actually brought back some of the bricks of Babylon, and they have writing engraved on them from many, many generations ago, which is really amazing. So yeah, you're absolutely right. That's a good point, Brian. We did bust up some of it, but it continues to be rebuilt even now. It's going to be rebuilt, in my opinion. Okay, why do I think that so strongly? You're about to see. Zachariah, this is the wildest. By the way, has anybody ever told you this story and then they quit and they didn't tell you the interpretation? Or you ever read something in the Bible and you go, wow, I can't wait till I get the interpretation? There's not one. That's what happens here. It's the wildest thing you'll ever see. But we get enough of it to know what's happening, I do believe. But when it drops us, it's like a bad phone call. Just when it drops us, we are dropped, okay? Zechariah, if that happened to us today, didn't it, show? Zechariah 5 and 5, you got to see this with your eyes. It is absolutely amazing. All right, verse 5. The angel that talked with me went forth and said unto me, lift up your eyes now and see what goeth forth. And I said, what is it? And he said, it is an ephod that goeth forth. What does your Bible say an ephod is? A basket. Okay, let's call it a basket. Because anybody else? A measuring basket. That's a better interpretation. What was that? Okay, yeah, measuring basket. So what it is a basket used to measure a certain portion of whatever, okay? So it's a measuring basket. You could call it a big 55-gallon barrel, whatever you want to call it, okay? For grain, okay, perfect. Okay, so we see this ephod. If you're taking notes, you see did I write on yours ephod? On your paper? Okay, so just follow along with me. Here you are. You have a measuring barrel, ephod. Then the next thing he says is, what is it? He says, it's an ephod that goeth forth. He said, moreover, this is the resemblance through all the earth. Verse 7, behold, there was lifted up a talent of lead. Anybody have how much that is? 75. Mine said 97, so somewhere between 75 and 100 pounds. Okay, a talent of lead. Watch what happens to this lead. And it is a woman that sitteth in the midst of the ephod. Now get a hold of this picture. This is where I was going to do my drawing, but get a hold of this picture. You have a basket, a measuring basket. You have a woman get into the basket. You have a lid that's placed on the basket, and you have a 100-pound, 7,500-pound talent of lead placed on top of that basket. Everybody following us? Okay, let's see what happens. Behold, verse 7, there was lifted up a talent of lead, and this is the woman that sitteth in the midst of the ephod. So she's inside there, and now the talent is on top of the thing. And he said, look at this. This is wickedness. So whatever we're talking about here, it ain't good. Okay? This is wickedness. And he cast it into the midst of the ephod, and he cast the weight of the lead upon the lid, or the mouth thereof. Then I lifted I up my eyes and looked, and behold, there came out two women, and the wind was in their wings, for they had wings like the wings of a stork. Is a stork a clean bird or a dirty bird? It's a dirty bird, that's right. So we have wickedness, a woman, and a couple of women dirty birds. Okay? How you like this image? Everybody with me? Okay. This is an exciting story, isn't it? All right. Wait till you see what happens next. It is wild. They lifted up the ephod between the earth and the heaven. What does that mean? They've taken flight.
They're in the sky.
They're in the sky. These women with wings of the wind. The wickedness and the woman inside, and the 100-pound on top. Verse 10, I said to the angel that talked with me, whether do they bear the ephod? And he said to me, to build a house in the land of Shinar. Wow.
Mine says Babylonia.
Same thing. Shinar, Babylon, same thing. So we have this prophet with an image of all wickedness in a measuring. By the way, remember what Revelation says? Measure it back to them for the measurement they gave. They fly to the land of Babylon. For what purpose? To build a city. What city? Babylon. Wow. Wow. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Revelation clearly talks about this being an opulent place. It's not today yet. It's going to be the center of trade. When you go and read those two chapters in 17 and 18, you can read all about what kind of city this will be in the future. So let me get back. This is really crazy, but I have several points I want to give you just real quickly in closing. My time is limited, but while you're thinking about that, go back to chapter 11 and the dividing of the nations. They couldn't understand one another. Does anybody have any idea how many dialects there are today? Take a guess. 700 was her guess. Anybody? 320?
What was the question?
Higher. 3,000. Wow. And one oftentimes runs off another. How did they divide up? How did they divide up? It's pretty easy. Hey, are you going with us? Huh? You going with us? You guys, yes, you're going with us. Yes, you understand me. How about you? Nope. You? Nope. How about you? Yes. Okay, there's just us three. Okay, let's keep doing it. Let's keep going. At the same time, hola, ¿cómo está? Yeah. Okay, you see how they divided up? If you understand each other, you went together. So that leaves us with another question. How did their skins turn different colors? Well, if you was in our study, melanin is an interesting thing. Some people has more and less, which will create darker skin, lighter skin. By the way, I want to just tell you something. I don't know how you feel about all this, but the reason racism is the stupidest thing on the planet is because we're one race. We're the human race. There ain't but one race of us. Some people have more melanin and some have less. But here's the thing. Let's take, if two light people get together and they just keep reproducing, what kind of children are they going to produce? Light. I mean, it's just, those dominant genes will continue to do that. If two dark people get together, they're going to have dark. What's really interesting in our country, we're having a whole new classification of people that say black and white got together and they created a whole different skin color. Okay, isn't that amazing though? If you do that over 100 years and 1,000 years, the darker will keep getting darker. You're going to have Chinese, you're going to have black, you're going to have remember all of those genes are in us. Can you reverse the cycle? Absolutely. Just let a dark person marry a light person and just keep doing that over time. You're going to end up with a whole different color of people. We're seeing that in our country right now. Yes, ma'am.
Well, talking about the color, because I've got 3 great-grandbabies that I call my caramel babies because they're mixed.
Do they taste good, though?
Oh, that's just,
When you sugar them.
they are that color, though.
Yeah, they are. Of course they are.
They're beautiful.
They can't help but be because you're mixing that together. If you never mixed it, what would you get? A dominant, more dominant, more dominant, more dominant. You see what I'm saying? Does people proximity of where they're living have anything to do with it? Yes. Well, absolutely. Absolutely. People who only live in ice, they're not going to have a very good tan. People who only live in Africa, they're not going to have a very light colored skin. It just makes perfect sense, okay? So it's not overly complicated in my estimation, even though what I just told you was overly simplistic, okay? So we're actually seeing this happen today. So a few more notes. Anybody, we didn't have a chance to go to Isaiah 45, but you ought to go to Isaiah 44. Well, in fact, let's just run there. Would you give me a minute? Isaiah 44. This is so powerful what Daniel did that Isaiah had wrote 150 years before. Look at it real quickly with me. Isaiah 44, verse 27 and verse 28. We're going to do that. He said to the deep, be dry. That's talking about the river. Remember I told you he diverted the river. He said to the deep, be dry, and I will dry up the rivers. That saith of Cyrus, he is my shepherd, and he shall perform all my pleasure. Who? Cyrus, even saying to Jerusalem, thou shalt be built, and to the temple. Did Cyrus tell him go home and build the temple? Yeah, man, do you see what you're reading here? 150 years before it happened, he said to the river, be dry, and it will be dry. He said, go home and perform my pleasure to Jerusalem. You will build the temple, and the foundation will be laid. He's talking about what Cyrus would do. Did Cyrus do all that? Absolutely he did. Keep going, chapter 45, thus said the Lord, to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have holden up, to subdue the nations before him. I will loose the loins of the kings. By the way, when the king saw the handwriting on the wall, what did the Bible say happened to him? His loins were loosed. He said 150 years before it happened, I will loose the loins of the king before him, and the 2 levied gates will be opened. Did that happen? It absolutely did. I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. I will break into pieces the gates. That's exactly what they did. I'll give the treasures. If you read this, it is shocking how right on the money and exactly what took place during the time of Cyrus, written 150 years before. Boy, the Bible is incredible, y'all. I'm just unbelievable to me. Okay, a couple more final things. Well, I'm not even going to do that. We'll pick it up next week. Okay, questions or comment in closing?
Can I ask a stupid question?
You can.
I usually do.
You can. I would say there's no stupid questions, but after doing this for a while, it's okay.
What are loins?
All of his lower parts.
I mean, y'all know that.
Ask, no biggie. Any other questions or comments? A lot of good information we covered. Anybody want to comment or have a question? Go for it. Please do. All right. Yes.
The guy that's in the photo, is cursed, that generation or his bloodline?
His bloodline. Did y'all hear what she said? Really important. When he cursed Canaan, was it just his family, that generation, or his entire?
His bloodline.
His bloodline. It was
They
his
would be
bloodline.
slaves to
Servants, yeah.
obviously his name.
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. Good question. Yes, ma'am. No, that's a good question, but no, because I might be from that family. I don't know. So, yeah, excellent question. Okay, look up here for just a second. I want to give y'all what we're going to do next week. Y'all, we are about to start the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. We're going to start that next week, and we're going to learn. We're going to see some fascinating things that take place. We have slowed down to a crawl on some of this creation stuff and other things. But this stuff here will go pretty fast. It is really, really cool stuff. Can I just give you like one quick taste of it? Every blessing that you have today comes from Abraham.
That's where that song come from, Father.
And by the way, what's really scary is every nation that blesses Israel will be blessed, and every nation that curses Israel, according to the blessing of Abraham, will be cursed. And what you're seeing happening right now in America and other countries should cause your loins to be loosed, because we do not want to turn on the nation of Israel, because the blessing that God put on Abraham is the same blessing that we retain today. Father, thank you. Wow, the Bible is so amazing. It's so powerful. We ask you, Father, just let us from week to week receive all that we can and understand all that we can, both about the past, which is a reflection of the future. So I thank you. May revelation come as we sleep and meditate on these things. Bless your people as they go forth this week to work and do their business and take care of their families. Bless them, Father. We ask in the name of Jesus. Everybody said amen.
Amen.
God bless y'all. Have a great, great week this week.